Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Show Me Firearms. My name is Matt, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about shooting steel targets because there is a lot of information out there and a lot of debate about said information about shooting steel targets, about whether or not it's safe, how close or how far away you should stand when you shoot a steel target with all kinds of different calibers. So we're going to dive into all that today, and I'm going to share with you guys my own personal opinions and things that I found in my own experience shooting steel targets on my own range. And as always, with these type of information / debate videos that we've done in the past, the things I'm going to say are not necessarily the be-all end-all of information. It's not necessarily going to reflect what you guys have found in your own experience, and that's fine. So please, feel free to sound off in the comment section down below about your own experience with shooting steel targets and what you found. And please share your opinions down below in the comment section, and let's have a discussion about shooting steel targets. So with that out of the way, let's dive right into it. So as you guys can see, I've got two steel targets out here on my range. We're not really going to talk about this target on my right here because this is a plate that I ordered off of eBay a couple years ago, and I honestly don't remember the details or the specifications of this little plate. And honestly, even if I did remember, who knows if that description on eBay is even accurate or not. So we're not really going to talk about this target because honestly, I don't really care about it too much. Like if I shot this thing with too big a caliber and put a hole in it, honestly wouldn't really care about it. So we're going to talk about this target here on my left, which I do care about because I like it a lot. I ordered this target from shootsteel.com, not sponsored by them in any way, shape, or form. Just found a good deal with them, so I went ahead and ordered off of their site. This target is a 3/8 inch AR 500 silhouette target, and according to shootsteel.com, this target can handle 308 and 6.5 Creedmoor from a minimum distance of 100 yards. So you gotta have a standoff distance of 100 yards, otherwise you risk that round going straight through your target, which would not be a good day on a nice steel target like this. For handguns, this target can handle 45 ACP and below, a minimum distance of 10 yards back. So you gotta be standing 10 yards away with anything up to 45 ACP. If you're going up to a Magnum round, like say 44 Magnum, 454 Casull, something like that, you need to be standing 25 yards away. So let's talk about safety when shooting steel targets. The first thing to take into consideration is that you're going to want to mount your target at a slight angle. That way rounds will tend to deflect in that direction and not back at you. As you can see here on my steel target, we have it sitting at a slight downward angle. That way rounds will tend to impact it and deflect downward and not back at me. The other thing is that shooting hard surfaces and steel targets, it doesn't necessarily go down the way it does in the movies and on TV shows, because a lot of times you see people shoot a hard surface in a movie and the round bounces right back at them. That can happen with certain types of ammo in the real world. We'll talk about that in a minute. But for just your typical lead ammo, FMJ ball ammo, rounds will tend to hit the steel target and then they fragment and break apart, and they kind of pancake out and go in all directions. It's called spalling. And you can see a good example of that on these logs I have as counterweights for my target stand. There is little tiny slivers of lead all over in those logs from the rounds fragmenting and spalling outward and not back at me. Now, certain types of ammunition can bounce back at you. If you're using ammunition with a steel core, like a armor penetrating round, that steel, since it's not soft lead, it won't expand outward and break apart as well. That steel core could potentially bounce back at you and hurt you pretty bad. So just keep that in mind. If you're shooting steel core ammo, stand well back from any kind of hard surface so that it cannot physically make it back to you, because it'll just lose energy before it reaches your location. But if you're using just your standard lead ammo, you really don't have to worry about that quite as much. But again, just always remember to have your target at a slight angle, so that way if you were to have any kind of ricochet, it will deflect downward or to the left or right and not back at you. The other thing you need to take into consideration when shooting steel targets is how far away you are from the target when you shoot it. Because if you're shooting steel from 5 feet away, very, very bad idea, because as we talked about, when that round impacts the steel, it's going to break up and then you're gonna have little bits of lead flying up, down, left, right. And some of those fragments could potentially come straight back. They're not gonna have a whole lot of energy and they're probably gonna be very, very tiny pieces, but they could still hurt you pretty darn bad if you're standing too close. So yeah, as a general rule of thumb, you need to be standing at least 10 yards away from a steel target when you shoot it. Ideally, you'd want to be a little further back, but probably 10 yards is going to be that bare minimum. So in my own experience shooting these steel targets on my own range, I'm a little bit limited because I have a tiny little corner of the property that I can use to shoot on. My maximum standoff distance is about 15 to 20 yards or so. So I'm still within the realm of safety, as we talked about a moment ago, 10 yards being the absolute bare minimum standoff distance for shooting steel. So I'm within the realm of safety as far as shrapnel goes or ricochets. But I'm not necessarily doing what's best for this steel target because I like to train with my AR-15. I mean, like, who doesn't? So I want to shoot 5.56 at this piece of steel. The trouble is, I'm standing just a little too close for 5.56 with this steel target because as you can see, it is leaving little dents and pits behind when those rounds impact. So, safety for me personally from injury, I am perfectly safe. I've never had an issue with ricochets or shrapnel or anything like that. But this target is not going to last quite as long as it normally would because I am exceeding its limitations by shooting it with 5.56 from a distance that's probably a little too close. So that's a concession I'm willing to make with this steel target. Before I shot it with 5.56, I knew full well that it is probably not going to be the best thing in the world for this piece of steel, and it is probably going to reduce the life of this plate. But like I said, that was a concession that I'm willing to make, but I feel safe doing that because I'm still within that realm of safety, and I've never had an issue with any kind of shrapnel or ricochets coming back at me. So as far as safety goes, 15 to 20 yards for this steel plate with 5.56 is perfectly fine for me, but like I said, it is going to reduce the life expectancy of this steel plate over time. Well, there you have it, guys. That's a little bit of information about shooting steel targets on the range and a little bit about my own personal experience and what I do when I shoot steel targets on my own range setup. What have you guys discovered in your own experience with shooting steel targets? Let me know in the comments down below, and let's have a nice discussion down there for people who are maybe just building their first range on their own property and they're looking into getting some steel targets to have a nice range setup. So let's have a nice discussion down in the comments, give those folks some information. Thanks so much for watching Show Me Firearms. I appreciate you guys being here and stopping by, check out the channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, until next time, show me them firearms. What a way to set off a monster mower, am I right? So much freedom!